night trying to keep my eyes open. The generator's busted and the AC's broken. I'm talking to the Lord, hope He helps us get there safe. And we made it to the show, now we're singing to the crowd. We're playing encore and they're screaming real loud. Try to get home early, but I know that ain't the case. Yeah, it's another hotel room, sleeping on the floor. I'm hurting in the morning from the night before. Pay my dues, I'm eating, love the road. I'm coming home, baby, leave the porch light on. Breakfast in the morning from 7 to 9, but we just can't seem to wake up in time. We grab a cup of coffee and we're off to hit the road. Now we're running on fumes, no time to kill. We got one more show and it's a shitty door deal. Breaking my back just to make a couple more. Yeah, it's another hotel room, sleeping on the floor. I'm hurting in the morning from the night before. Pay my dues, I'm eating, love the road. I'm coming home, baby, leave the porch light on. Yeah, it's another hotel room, sleeping on the floor. I'm hurting in the morning from the night before. Pay my dues, I'm eating, love the road. I'm coming home, baby, leave the porch light on. Yeah, it's another hotel room, sleeping on the floor. I'm hurting in the morning from the night before. Pay my dues, I'm eating, love the road. I'm coming home, baby, leave the porch light on.
Ladies and gentlemen, do you want to know why I'm here today? It's not because I want to give you a pep talk or because I want to make you feel good about yourselves. No, I'm here to tell you the truth.
Hey, welcome in. I'm so glad people are finding this. I had a serious cluster this morning. What a day I have had already. Some of it I can't even fully tell you about. I had a very, very exciting phone call this morning on one of the cases that I'm following. I have exciting things coming in the future, and I feel horrible because I'm teasing something I can't tell you much about. But needless to say, I've got an interview coming up on one of my cases. What case? I'm going to have to surprise you with. Who it's going to be, I have to surprise you with. But super exciting phone call I had this morning. That took me up to the last minute. And here's what happened last night. Last night, I was trying to get some help on this channel because we're growing so fast, which is a great thing. And by the way, I hope that you can hear me. I'm assuming you can hear me. But anyways, we're growing so fast that I wanted to make sure I could have a channel manager help me out with my videos and making sure that they're in the right playlists and they're tagged right and whatever. And so late last night while drinking, I moved my account to a status that allowed me to add a manager of my channel. And in doing so, I didn't realize it broke the streaming software that I use. So I'm trying to go live here at noon after getting off of an exciting phone call. Again, teasing something for the future. I'm getting off of a phone call that I'm like, I got to go do my live. And then the live won't fire up because I broke my channel. Now, on the positive side, things have moved over, and I now do have the ability to add a manager on the back end of my account. But StreamYard broke, which is what I use to stream my show. Everything broke and went to shit. I was panicking. I'm like, why the hell is there an error occurring? And then it dawned on me, what did I do last night? Oh, shit. I uncluster fucked myself. Thank you all for those who went out to the other stream that might have been still running and people are waiting for, letting them know that that's not happening. This one is happening. I think I'm going to have to reschedule all of my streams that I had scheduled because it's hard to explain, but that old profile is broken. So now I have to reschedule things, which also explains why I couldn't tell you and get scheduled. Murder, Metal, Mayhem and I tonight going live together talking about Gilgo Beach, the Rex Heuermann story, Victoria Heuermann, the murder art and all that kind of stuff. It's going to be an exciting show tonight. I was going to make sure it was scheduled and I couldn't get it to schedule because I kept getting error occurred. And again, like what's happened? Well, you changed something, moron, in the middle of the night. All right, I know the big news on the top of everybody's head is the lifting of the non-dissemination order and the lifting of the gag order in the Brian Coburger Idaho 4 situation. So let me explain to you what I understand. Here's the thing, again, because I had an important phone call this morning, I didn't get to watch the hearing on Zoom, but I did get confirmation from several people, and I did get confirmation from the internet, and so I believe I'm going to do my best to tell you that what has happened is what I expected to happen. And let me clarify what that is. Basically, Hitler, I believe, has agreed it is time to lift the gag order on this case. However, there is a distinction between lifting the non-dissemination order, gag order, and unsealing documents. They're kind of two separate things, as I understand, and that also was played out in what I understand happened in the courtroom. The prosecution allegedly said they're ready to unseal everything and have everything be out in the open. The defense, oddly enough, wanted some of that stuff to remain sealed until after sentencing because of the impact it may have on the sentencing. Hitler agreed, from what I understand, and this is exactly what I said in different language the other day. Hitler agreed not to unseal things until sentencing is over because technically, right up to sentencing, Brian Coburger has the ability to change his plea. So until the appeals process has been exhausted, meaning that's not possible for Brian Coburger to change the plea, they're not going to unseal documents. However, I do believe, as I understand it, media stormed already and already put in requests to unseal everything. If I understand right, Hitler, and I didn't get to watch it, but I'm getting a recap, Hitler said basically, you're a little premature. I'm not going to unseal any documents until after sentencing. And that's exactly what I told you would happen. Or at least I predicted. I shouldn't say tell you like I know everything. I predicted they won't unseal anything until after sentencing. You won't see documents that were sealed until afterwards. And just like I told you, I guessed, again, I don't want to sound arrogant. I'm not saying I told you so. That's not where I'm coming across. What I said was that's a legal process, right? Somebody has to file the request to unseal the documents, which I've been told the media has already requested hundreds of documents to be unsealed. And then a judge has to review those things. And Hitler said, after sentencing, I will review the requests for documents. It's exactly like I thought was going to happen. That's a legal process that takes place. However, it is different than lifting the non-dissemination order. What does that mean? That means immediately people can start talking. Immediately. Now, the prosecution, from what I understand, said, out of respect, they won't start talking to the media now. They won't talk to the media today. They won't talk to them until after sentencing. But from what I understand, the gag order part, the non-dissemination, that you can't talk about it part, has been lifted, which means Kathy Mabb at the corner could go on CNN tomorrow. It could go in there this afternoon. You could see Corporal Payne give an interview today. Chief Fry could give an interview today. Anybody who wants to talk and run their mouth can talk. And I assure you, I'm guessing our TV airways and YouTube channels are going to be full of people who are ready to talk immediately. But again, that's different than unsealing documents. So what you're going to have is a lot of people running their mouth like other people have been doing for a long time. Running their mouth about what they believe happened and what you're going to find out when the documents are unsealed. But the unsealing process is going to take a little bit of time for those documents to be unsealed. So the surprise part for me, in a way, was that it seems to me that we are moving full speed ahead with unsealing the documents. And I suspected a large number of those documents will forever remain sealed. And in fact, we don't know that that's not the case. Again, Hitler, I guess, from what I understand, I didn't watch it with my own eyes, but Hitler admitted that he's going to review the requests. So that's a process. He's going to review the request to unseal information, unseal documents, and it'll be a case-by-case situation. He'll be like, okay, these 12 documents can be unsealed immediately. These other ones I have to think a little bit more on. And so we may see stuff start to come out, again, starting the documents, I would imagine, on the COI website. That's the Idaho site that has the legal documents. I suspect we won't see documents hitting there probably until after sentencing. That's my guess. But again, immediately, and maybe happening right now while we're talking on YouTube, immediately people should be able to talk about the case. People who have been silent up until now, family members who have been silenced, attorneys of family members that might be representing them may be able to give public statements if they want to. All kinds of people can start talking, which makes tonight's live with Pete Altieri on Murder Metal Mayhem a little interesting, because we're going to be focused. We already pre-planned to be focused on Gilgo Beach, the Long Island serial killer case. And that's what we're going to talk about tonight. And who knows, between now and 5 o'clock, which is about 5 hours away, who's going to run their mouth to the media here today, and it's going to be all the rage. Everybody's going to want to know, what's your opinion, devil's advocates? So-and-so just said that this, and this happened, and that's what we're going to find out when the documents are unsealed. So I will do my best to be all over that. I may entertain the idea of going live after Pete Altieri and I go live tonight, if that kind of shit happens. If people start running their mouth today, like I expect they probably will, because the media is going to be all over people to get the first scoop. They're going to be the first person to have somebody say something for the first time that we've never heard in this case for 2.5 years. So if that kind of shit starts happening, I will make an effort to go live with it as quickly as possible. Let's get some comments, by the way, from people coming in here. I'm so glad that Hitler cleared up the appeal question. Phoenix predicted this. I see this was an important issue. So yes, the appeals issue, I think, now I don't know what Phoenix said about the appeals issue, but the appeals process, technically, Coburger could change his plea deal right up before sentencing. So he could technically say, you know what, I changed my mind about pleading guilty. And again, I wouldn't get too excited that that's going to happen. In order to do so, he would have to be able to convince Judge Hitler that there was a reason why he lied when he gave his "I'm not lying" when I said I did it. And that'd be a hard sell. You would have to have a really, really good justification for the judge to vacate the plea and change the plea last second. It's not like he can just change his mind. He has to change his mind with probable cause. There has to be something that the judge can look at and go, oh, had we known that, yeah, change the plea. But I don't expect that's going to happen. By the way, for those who are curious, I am currently planning on being in the courtroom for sentencing. From what I understand, sentencing is going to be an 8-hour ordeal. At least that's what they've said online, is to prepare for 8 hours and scheduled breaks throughout the day. It's going to start first thing in the morning. And what that probably means to me, there's no way in hell it takes 8 hours to sentence Bryan Coburger. What that means to me is that you're going to have victim impact statements, meaning the families are going to get their time to come up, and a sister, a brother, a father, whoever wants to come up is going to get to come up and say how they feel about Bryan Coburger to his face. And whether Bryan Coburger responds, I wouldn't expect that. That's my prediction. I do not expect Bryan Coburger is going to talk. I don't expect Bryan Coburger is going to offer an apology. I don't expect Bryan Coburger to offer an explanation. I don't expect any of that. However, I'm going to try to be in the courtroom. I expect I will get in the courtroom. I know the process now. I've been there before in the courtroom. I didn't never expect that I'd be sitting right behind Bill Thompson at the last hearing. So I didn't think I could do it then. I think I'm going to do it now. So I'm planning on being there for that. Lee, who are the minors in the case? Hitler said he wanted to protect minors in the case. What seals he will lift the gag order? So yeah, that's a great question. Again, I didn't see the information. I didn't watch the hearing, but what that would suggest to me is, for example, if there are sisters or brothers who are underage and are a minor related to family members and stuff like that may have been involved, or there may be a witness that we don't know about, or somebody that is not of legal age. That's what it sounds like when you're saying minors, unless they mean minor principal players, but I don't think that's what it means. I think they mean protecting a minor, and they're and again, why wouldn't it like what do you mean? What minors are there involved in this case? That's $1 million question. That's the first time I've heard that. So great question. But I'm guessing that is the kind of thing that won't get a document unsealed, right? So there's a gag order on documents. If those gag orders include information about underage people who, and we protected the rights of people who are under 18 many times. If there's a young person in any of the documents, anywhere, that document may not get unsealed, or if it gets unsealed, the name of the minor will be redacted. So you'll find out who the minor is like there's a minor who, and their name is redacted, blacked out. So that kind of stuff can happen, and that's going to take time. So if there's anything in the court documents that have a person under the age of 18, they may unseal the document but redact the name. All right. So yeah, and again, this is, you're like, what children are involved? I mean, I don't think we want to get crazy conspiracy theorist. I don't believe any children were killed in the house that we don't know about, that there's any new victims. I'm thinking we're talking about peripheral players. Again, maybe a young sister, a grandchild, somebody who's not of legal age that knows something or talked to somebody and gave some kind of testimony of some kind. Hell, for all we know, somebody in the neighborhood had a toddler who came out and saw something and gave an eyewitness testimony to something, and we've never heard about them because they protected the identity of a minor. That kind of thing could be some surprises that we have. So who knows? I don't think there's going to be a lot of children living around on Greek Row or the area of Greek Row, but you never know. I hope they release the coroner's reports, and as Amanda Smith says, I have a feeling, this is my guess, I have a feeling the coroner reports and autopsy reports won't necessarily, well, maybe the autopsy report won't be released, but someone like a Kathy Mabbitt, who was the coroner, will be able to talk about it. So the question is, will we see the document itself with documents of the stabbings? Will any of the victims' injuries be shown? I doubt it. In a lot of cases, it is. In a lot of cases, regardless of how horrific it is, this case has public interest. We saw horrific pictures of the Charles Manson murders. We saw horrific pictures of Nicole Simpson back in the O.J. Simpson days. We've seen lots of horrific images of people who have been murdered. Those things do get unsealed. And the public does want to see it with their own eyes, not because of the morbid fascination, but because we want to put to rest all those questions. Did one person really do it, or do the wounds show us that more than one person did it? Do the wounds show us that there's no way a K-bar knife did that? Maybe it was a machete or an axe or whatever the case may be. And I know that's graphic and I know that's morbid, but the point being is that these are some of the questions the public has. And if Hitler is saying, as he did say, that it is imperative that the public see transparency, that they know what happened, because they're never going to stop. That's something Hitler has basically hinted. America's never going to stop talking about this case if they don't get to see for themselves what happened. So if you hide stuff, including letting us see what the injuries look like and how many injuries and all those things, the details are devil's advocates, the devil is in the details. So if we don't get to see the details, it's going to forever lead to questions. And again, it's not because people, well, I shouldn't say nobody. There are people who have morbid fascination to see slaughter, images just because they like seeing that kind of stuff. But a lot of us just want to know by scrutinizing things and going, is this consistent? Is this consistent with what the story says? All right. Dreamcatcher says there's so much in this case that has so many questions left unanswered, mainly about the police and the roommates and what got said as opposed to being pushed to one side. I can't forget. Amen to that. Thank you so much. Yeah, again, to Hitler's credit, I think Judge Hitler acknowledges that. America is not going to stop talking about this case if we don't have a shit ton of transparency. There's a million questions out there. And if we don't get to start getting those questions answered, it's going to be a nightmare for everyone, because we're just not going to let it go. The best thing they can do at this point is unseal everything, or as much as humanly possible, and put to rest all of the rumors. Show us something that stops the rumors about alternative suspects. Show us something that we didn't see that explains the survivor's actions that night. And if it doesn't, let us make that determination that what you showed us is all you had, and maybe you were okay with it, but we're not still. But it needs to be open and discussed. Yeah, we've seen terrible photos of kids like Kaylee Anthony as zero excuse to keep the documents from the public. I agree, and it's going to be brutal, and it's horrendous. It's horrendous for the families, right? Because now, I mean, you got to think about it from their perspective. America is going to be gawking at photos of their child having gone through something horrific. It's bad enough we talked about it for 2.5 years. Then now people are going to maybe be able to see it. So please be considerate to the families. And by that, I mean, don't get me wrong, we must get answers. So I'm not one of these people that say, for the sake of the families, shut the fuck up and quit answering questions. That is not respectful to the families, in my opinion. What's respectful is that we all know what happened, and that we're all at peace with the verdict, and that we're all at peace with justice is being done. That's respectable to the families. But again, it's going to be painful for the families to go through that. So be respectful. I would urge, and I know I have no influence on other YouTubers, but I would urge YouTubers to please fucking show some discretion and don't go calling family members now that the gag order is lifted and start asking shitty questions. People are horrendous to people. I don't do those kind of things, and I don't do them at the expense of not making my channel be the scoop. I could scoop something if I were to be an asshole and call somebody. I'm not going to fucking call somebody and ask them horrible questions about a tragedy when they're suffering, but other people will, and they'll get the scoop, and their channel may blow up. So be it. There it is. What else do we have? Right. This is a person reiterating, Mishu 313. The families shouldn't have any questions about how their loved ones were taken from them. And I think if I'm understanding your statement, you're saying the same thing I do. They should want to know that we got the right guy, and that there's no questions we got the right guy, so they can go to rest knowing that somebody else didn't walk free. If I were a family member and somebody, and by the way, this is happening in my other case, the Gilgo Beach murders. There is a possibility that Rex Heuermann did not act alone, that he had help, or that there were other killers involved. And again, if the media and law enforcement and the prosecution want a simple answer and pin it on one guy so that people can feel better at the end of the day that there was justice served, is it justice if other people who are involved just walk scot-free of what they've done? And if I were a family member, I'd want every MFer who was involved to go down, not just one, but every effing one of them. And I would take the whole thing down myself. But that's me. But not everybody's like that. Some people just want peace and to move on. And that was expressed in the recent documentary, by the way, on Prime, Amazon Prime. There was family members who literally said, I don't want to talk about this case anymore. I don't want to appear in any courtroom. I'm not going to the hearings or the trial about Brian Coburger because I need to move on with my life. I'm moving on. And I respect that. Some families will be like that. I don't care. I want to move on with my life. Whether Coburger did it or didn't do it, or did it with somebody, or did it with 12 people, or did it alone, I don't give a fuck. I need to move on with my life. I understand that, and I respect that choice on the family. But there are some of us out here who need answers, or at least don't want to sleep at night until we have answers. So that's us. And yes, for the families, they're in a whole different world than we are. They're, for them, maybe they have to move on. They have to. Right? But we are in a little different boat. We're not as emotionally attached. So we want the damn answers. And so we'll keep pushing for that. But all right. I'm looking through some comments. I saw Xana's mom came out and basically made some kind of comment. I like what you're saying, basically giving it up to God, suspicious of friends, making some public statements for the first time. I did see that. I didn't watch it, but I did see that. What if part of his deal is he can't talk to anyone about this? Are you talking about Coburger? He could talk about it, I believe. Yes, that would. And if it was part of the deal, I think we would have seen that. But what other questions and comments do you have? Again, as you know, I cover 3 cases right now, currently 3. There's going to be probably more, but 3 is a workload already. Although one of our cases arguably is coming to an end. Is it? I mean, to be fair, we've got months probably left of talking about this, because as the documents get unsealed, which is a process, it may not all get unsealed one day, but even if they do, everyone's going to be combing through the documents. Does this explain this? Does this explain that? Wait a minute. What did they not follow this lead? How did they close that loop? And we're going to have questions. We're not done talking about it. Yes, the case will be over for some, and some will move on with their life. The majority of America will move on with their life. The majority of America is like, they're already done. Thank God we know who did it, and it's over. We're moving on to the next thing. I got a football game to watch. That's most of America right now. Most of America has moved on. But there is a handful of us in the true crime community who are like, I have questions still, and I would like to feel like we got all of the answers, or as close as we're ever going to get. And I feel like we're far from getting as close as we're ever going to get. In other words, what I mean by that is we will continue to find more of the truth. And that's what we want at the end of the day. We're going to keep asking questions until we get to a point where we have as much of the truth as we think we'll ever humanly be able to get, and then let it go, because you can't keep chasing things forever. But we are far from having all of the questions answered that I think will still get answered. There will be things that are still going to get answered for us that we don't know today. That's my opinion. Any other comments, questions, concern? I know that right now we're mostly 100% on Coburger, and we can stay on Coburger all day. Well, for the hour that I'm going to be talking. Okay, for the half hour I have left. But feel free to fire me a question about Luigi Mangione or Rex Heuermann, any of the other cases as well. Lee, I'm going to join the DA club tomorrow. I'm going to become a fully fledged member. Woo, woo, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Again, I have 3 tiers. I'm even going to recommend at the moment, don't get the top tier. The top tier that I put in was when I first started this channel. I had no idea how the memberships are going to work. I lined out what I would provide for membership, and there's a top tier that's relatively expensive, and it doesn't have enough to make your value. So I'm going to tell you right now, don't go top tier. Don't go top tier. Everything, 99% of everything I do for members only, which is a lot of stuff, is right here at this level, at the $2.99 level, if you want bonus material. If you want to get look-aheads of videos that I've recorded and are going to be scheduled in a few days from now, that's the next tier up, but you're going to get it for free when it comes out. But if you like to have a heads up. But anyways, I've got lots of extra content. And my extra content generally is stuff that I am not ready to go 100% to the public with yet, but I'm willing to share with people who pay the extra money to see, hey, this is what I'm working on. This is my thought process, and I'm not going to go public with that until I can confirm this, or that. So if you want to know what I'm working on and what my thought processes are, that's a great way to do it. And if you just want to support the channel for the cost of a cup of coffee, you can't buy coffee for $3. If you want to support the channel because you believe in the work and you like my channel, you just do it. It's great. And if not, just like and subscribe and hit the notification bell, especially now, because again, I broke my channel on YouTube in a weird way, and you may need to turn on notifications for this new channel. It looks exactly the same to you. But I think my URL may have changed to the YouTube channel. Everything's there. All the videos are there. Oh, one of the other things that broke, and I'll try to get off business. Let's get back to Coburger in a second. But one of the things that broke is all my videos got dumped out of playlists. I had to put all my videos back into playlists. I spent an hour and a half to 2 hours this morning getting my videos back into playlists. Another fallout. So I don't know how bad I fucked up my account, but I think we're in good shape now. All right, what's going on? What's other questions? Where can we catch up on the Rex case? You can start on my channel on YouTube in the Rex Heuermann playlist and start at the beginning. That's when I started to follow the case. I'm starting to read a book in the case, and that's another playlist is Lost Girls, which is a book on the Long Island serial killer, put out a long time ago. I'm reading that book, and I'm going to be reading several other books. So if you want to get caught up from my view, that's where I would start. If you want to start from fresh with Rex Heuermann, I will give you this recommendation. On Netflix, if you have access to Netflix, there's a series, 3-part documentary called Gone Girls. I'll warn you now, episode 1 was a little dry and a little boring, but you must watch it because it's the preface of how the bodies were found, and it's the story of Shannon Gilbert, and how Shannon Gilbert led to the discovery of the Gilgo Beach 4 and ultimately a bunch of bodies. You need to watch episode 1. But if you are a lover of my channel or my content, episode 2 will kick your ass. That episode was freaking phenomenal. Police corruption, corrupt district attorney, cover-ups, people who in the law enforcement that may have known Rex Heuermann and covered up his crimes. Holy shit. Episode 2 is where I said, this case is mine. I am all over this MFer like white on rice and a paper plate and a Coke cup of milk in a snowstorm. Holy shit, I did it. I have been trying to get that right again for the longest time. I just pulled it off. Anyways, point being, Major Payne reference, because that's how old I am, and that was funny shit when I first heard it. Point being is that's a place to get started. Primer, I'm telling you, the Rex case is going to be huge next year. And by the way, I have a surprise. I told you earlier I wasn't going to tell you. I wasn't going to tell you what I've got, what case I've got a surprise on. It's the Rex Heuermann case. I've got a surprise for you in the Rex Heuermann case. I'm so excited I can nearly piss myself. But I promised I would not say anything about it until it's in the can. So hold tight. That's going to get crazy. That case is going to be huge next year, I'm pretty sure. All right, what else do we got? Is there a new DA channel? No, it's not a new DA channel. It's the same one. You should be able to search for Devil's Advocates or at Devil's Advocates 2024. It'll look the same from you. It's hard to explain, but I had to create the style of profile it was so that I could allow a manager to help manage my account and make sure that my videos have the correct keywords and that it has an ending card that suggests them watching another video. I need some help with that because I want to focus. This sounds so arrogant. I want to focus on being the talent, right? So I'm the guy that comes up here and runs my mouth at 100 miles an hour and does rants. I don't necessarily want to do all of the double checking and triple checking that my playlists are in order and that this wasn't sequenced wrong and this blah, blah, blah. And so I need some help with some people that want to have a love of the channel to help out with that kind of stuff. So I made some changes to make that happen so that people could help me who have a love for the channel. Dreamcatcher, I remember you and Pete talking about LISK last week, and I was so tired. It was late here in the UK. You were talking about biscuits and gravy, and I thought he was another serial killer. The biscuits and gravy killer. That guy's nasty. No, I don't remember why we were talking about. I think no, I did. We did talk about biscuits and gravy and meatloaf and the differences between different parts of the country. We did talk about that. No relation to the LISK. For those who are not familiar, and we'll get back on Coburger as quickly as possible. I know that's what you're all really wanting to hear about at the moment. But LISK stands for Long Island Serial Killer. When the case first started, it was called the Gilgo 4 because there was 4 bodies found essentially at the same time on Gilgo Beach. It later got expanded to include other parts of Long Island, and so it became the Long Island Serial Killer case. But it still kind of has a lot of remnants out there about the Gilgo 4 murders, Gilgo Beach murders, but it moved beyond Gilgo Beach. In fact, as a heads up, Rex Heuermann may have been killing women all over the country. There may be bodies all over the country for the past 30 years that might be attributed to Rex Heuermann. He may be, at the end of the day, the most prolific serial killer that we've had. We will see. Time will tell. So we're now calling him LISK, Long Island Serial Killer. Alleged, of course, because we believe in the presumption of innocence until proven guilty. However, I will warn you, chances are really good Rex Heuermann's involved. But here's why I'm still involved. Here's why even though I believe in the presumption of innocence, and we will continue to say Rex Heuermann is allegedly the Long Island serial killer, chances are good that he is, but he's just allegedly. But the $1 million thing, as in the Brian Coburger case, is, did Rex Heuermann do it alone? Did he have accomplices? Was his own family actually participating in the murders? That is a very likely possibility. It's crazy shit. And again, I've got some surprises for you down the pipeline that I think you're gonna enjoy if you like mysteries and you like to figure out. Because again, some of us want to know not just did he do it, but did he do it alone? Or are all the bodies his? Or is it possible that multiple serial killers are dumping bodies on Long Island and they're not all his? Will law enforcement be persuaded to close cold cases by blaming it on Rex Heuermann because it's just easier and makes people feel better at night that they've got an answer? Or do people care to find out, is every single person they're attributing to Rex Heuermann really his murder? Or did somebody else's murder that was attributed to somebody else and somebody else is in prison for a murder that they didn't commit because it was actually Rex Heuermann's? Some of us want to know what really happened and how much did they look the other way? All right, let's continue to look. Let's see from my chat. How old was his daughter have been when this was all going on? So he's been at it for 30 years, allegedly been at it for 30 years. I think I want to say she's in her 20s now, I think. So it would have maybe started. I'm trying to get the date on that time. I don't remember her age. I will get boned up on that. This is a new case for me, but I'm getting up to speed quickly. So I will have all those answers like the back of my hand soon enough. I've heard someone say his wife knew. Yeah. So here's the thing. Just as a food for thought, what's coming out in bits and pieces in the news is that Rex Heuermann and his wife may have been swingers. They may have been involved with other couples and having sex parties in their house for nearly 30 years, including police officers who may have participated in the sex parties, including prostitutes in the hundreds who have been to his house. His house is something small, like 1,400 square feet. He did have supposedly a basement room that was a locked vault area where the prosecution has largely concluded that Rex Heuermann killed women perhaps in the basement of his own house, and he did so when his family was out of town on vacation or away for the weekend, and that's when all the killings were done. However, I've got some more and more information the more I dig into this, that the family has a very dark past. I just recently did a big video about Victoria, his daughter's artwork that is extremely macabre, showing mutilated women, men torturing women with knives, cutting off their breasts, huge bone saws and cutting knives referred to as sex toys, the whole kind of thing. Where was her mind? And what did she know? Did she see things and it broke her mind? Was that just an element of the day? As Pete Altieri and I are going to talk tonight, we're going to talk about our age, my age of people, and Pete Altieri's age. We grew up in the 80s, right? And we grew up with Jason from Halloween. Michael Myers from Halloween, Jason from Friday the 13th, Freddy from Nightmare on Elm Street. And they literally made a joke out of murder. We would, in the theater, I remember going to theaters and you'd watch somebody get horrifically chopped up and murdered and the audience would laugh thinking it's funny because they made it humorous. They made the macabre and murder funny and humorous. We grew up in that era. Rex Heuermann is my age, right? He's my age. So did that kind of shit desensitize us to that kind of thing? Did it create serial killers? Did it inhibit that? Was it just normal in Rex Heuermann's house to have that kind of stuff going on, murder films and stuff like that? And is that all that's happening with Victoria Heuermann? Is that she just literally normalized murder and death? Or does it go deeper? Did she know? Keep in mind, Victoria Heuermann and Asa Ellerup, that's the wife of Rex Heuermann, their DNA was found on bodies of the Long Island serial killer. The answer for the prosecution is that Rex Heuermann used household items like duct tape or burlap bags or whatever from his house, and it just happened to catch his wife or his daughter's hair and DNA and transfer it to a scene. But there are those who question, is that what the answer is? Or were they there? Did they participate in that? And holy shit, speak of the devil, Pete Altieri from Murder Metal Mayhem just jumped into the house. I was just telling people, Pete, about how we're going to talk about Rex Heuermann. Some people were asking some questions. Some people are interested to get started in that case. So I'm kind of giving them a little primer to get started on that. All right. DA, Rex looks exactly like the sketch of the Route 29 killer. We'll get into that, not necessarily tonight, but we'll get into that. Thank you so much for bringing that up. This case is going to be huge. I'm predicting it's going to be a huge case. It's going to get, especially as some of these other high-profile cases come to a close or stagnate. These other cases are going to pick up. This case is going to be enormous. I'm almost guaranteeing you. How much do we have for time? Pete, if you're still here, I normally only do an hour, and I know we've got a live coming today at 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. That's 7, I think, your time. If you want to jump on right now, maybe we'll extend this a few minutes and talk if you want to talk ahead of time. Or if you just want to wait for our show tonight, let me know. If you want on tonight or now, I will send you an invite and get you on right now to talk a little bit about it. But if you want to wait till tonight and gather your thoughts, I would totally understand. What else do we have going on? Did we have I'm at the vet. Okay. So, yeah, you're not going to probably sign in from the vet. Hope your animal, is that the vets as in like military vets, or vet as in animal location? Anyways, point being, hope that things are going to turn out fine there. Dreamcatcher wants you to jump on, but if you're with the vet, whether it's the VA or the vet clinic, you're probably busy at the moment. Animal vet. Yeah, so animal vet. All right. Anybody else? Any other questions? So with Pete not coming on right now, and again, we're doing a special. By the way, I don't know, Pete, if you're still listening, but I had some problems with my account last night, and I haven't been able to pre-schedule our live. So I need to get that scheduled. When I get off here, I'm going to schedule our live and put the thumbnail out there that you have already been advertising, so I can help advertise it. I thought I was doing that last night, but last night in a drunken state, I wasn't really drunk, but in a drinking state, I made a change to my account and broke something. And so our connection to that live, it broke, and I need to schedule it now for tonight. So we'll do that later. All right. Any other last minute questions? I guess not last minute. We've got about 15 minutes left. Any other questions that anybody has about Brian Coburger, Idaho 4, the difference between the non-dissemination order or the gag order, the sealing of the documents, my appearance or my plans to go to the courtroom and how that's going to work? Any questions about that? And by the way, I do think this time I may take an extra battery pack and stream somewhat from outside the courthouse as I'm standing in line, give you some views. I did take some pictures last time on Discord of the different media channels that were there. I expect this might be even a bigger media storm, so I need to probably be there longer in line. I won't even tell you when I'm going to try to plan to show up in line. It probably is going to be ridiculous. I'm trying to decide if I'm going to go down the night before and get some sleep in a hotel before I go camp out in line. I don't know. We'll see. Any other questions about anything? Lee, how long does it take for you to get there? What time will you leave your house to hit the road? Now, I am a very open book kind of guy, and I don't mind telling people a lot of details. The only thing that gives me a caveat, if I tell you exactly how long it takes me to get there and when I leave, somebody can start narrowing down exactly where I live. Not that it's super hard to figure out where I live already. So I'm just going to give you some ballparks instead of exactly. All right. So it takes approximately 3 to 4 hours, somewhere between 3 and 4 hours for me to get to Boise, Idaho from where I'm at. The question is going to be on when I leave based on when I want to be in line. Last time when I got to the courthouse, at about 3 o'clock in the morning, and I was the fourth person in line. I felt pretty comfortable with that. I suspect this is going to be a bigger deal, so I might need to be there a little earlier. The first person in line last time I heard had been there at midnight, so that's kind of a target of that's when the first person showed up last time. So what time I'm going to show up, I don't know. Maybe midnight, maybe 11 o'clock at night. It all depends, too, on how the courthouse is viewing it. Last time, the courthouse was very open about letting us stay in line all night long. Every once in a blue moon, I think we saw a sheriff's department stop by and just make sure everybody was being orderly and moved on. But for the most part, it's pretty laid back because it's media cameras everywhere, and every news station its dog will be set up on the courthouse steps. And so not a lot's going to happen there. But standing in line takes time. All right. Yeah, last time I didn't even tell people that I was going to be at the courthouse. I just, on a whim, like, fuck it. I'm going to go see if I can get in the courthouse. I totally got in the courthouse. Crazy. I learned so much that day. I learned so much. Worth its weight in gold. That was amazing. Look at Stacy's comment. Rex as the 195 killer. Yeah, I think that's the thing. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but Rex Heuermann is believed to have killed for 30 years, and in other cities like Atlanta, Atlantic City, Reno, Nevada, possibly other places that where Rex Heuermann has been. He may have killed women all over the country. And was it along a corridor of any particular highway or multiple places that he's lived? I think we're 11 bodies have been attributed to Rex Heuermann. I think allegations are easy to say. His kill count is probably in the hundreds. And oddly enough, doesn't seem like Rex Heuermann was all that careful about dumping bodies. So how did he get away with it for so long? The question I have to ask is, how long has law enforcement looked the other way and not really dug too deep into it? Because he's not real careful. He, meaning the killer, because again, let us not forget, Rex Heuermann has the presumption of innocence like anybody else does in this country until proven guilty in a court of law. Is it likely he did it, or some of them? Sure. But the point being is that he should have the presumption of innocence. So he, whoever, or she, by the way, because there's a possibility that one or two women were doing the murders. That sounds crazy, but women do kill, and women can be serial killers. We can name one. I can't remember her name, but there's a very famous female serial killer. You probably could pop it up in the chat right now and be like, yes, that's the one I'm talking about. Eileen? Is that what it was? Anyways, point being is that it happens. So, what else? Any other comments, questions? Eileen Warnos. Yeah, Warnos. Yeah. That woman, yeah. That's an example of a female. And I wonder how many females get away with murder that we don't know about. Anybody else? I'm excited. I'll tell you what I'm excited about. I'm excited because you have every reason. You guys have every reason to only be obsessed with Idaho 4 because Brian Coburger's case had a break, right? The non-dissemination order has been lifted. People are going to be allowed to talk to the press immediately. Gag orders are going to already been filed to be released. That's huge news. His sentencing's coming up in a matter of days or about a week, right? And yet, people are excited about Rex Heuermann. That excites me because that case is going to be a shit show of excitement. There's going to be, and I don't mean like, let's get our jollies off of murder. It's going to be exciting because I love getting into the politics, the police corruption, and exposing how we can have reform. We should have there's a lot of reforms that have to happen in America. Only one of which is how they destroyed Rex Heuermann's house, their household house, tearing it apart, tearing the walls apart, pulling pipes out of the thing, destroying their house, and then not doing anything to pay for it. The family now has to sue to try to get money back for it, and they may never get that money back. Now, at the end of the day, do you care if his family was actually involved in the murders? If his wife and his daughter actually participated? Maybe you're like, fuck them, let them lose that. But there should be reforms in America. The police should not be able to destroy your property and then laugh on the way out and say, you know what, we're done. Maybe you weren't guilty, but your shit's all destroyed and good luck suing us because we can do whatever we want if you're even suspected of being guilty. So those are things we should talk about. There's going to be a lot of reforms we should have out of this. Will we see more evidence of BK's guilt than what's in the PCA? That is the $1 million question, right? And I can't answer it. My guess is yes. We're going to find out more than we know, but we'll see. That's a guess. We're going to find out more than we know. I think. If we don't, then we've got major problems. If we don't get anything more than that we had in the PCA, I feel there's going to be a shitstorm of backlash because the PCA did not answer questions and it has a lot of problems. So if all we get is nothing more than what's the PCA, we've got a problem. And PCA, for those who are not familiar, is the probable cause affidavit. It's the document that was written to basically go after Coburger's arrest in the first place. It laid down enough evidence, allegedly, that Brian Coburger was the killer, that they had enough evidence to go arrest him. And a judge said, yeah, based on what you're showing me, that guy probably is the killer. Go get him. But that PCA had major, major problems. And I suspect it will continue to have major, major problems. I'm looking for other questions. The leaker will never be revealed. It was probably Jennings. Tony Stevenson. Yeah, let me clarify for people what they mean by the leaker. Dateline NBC shortly before going to trial, and in fact, maybe one of the contributing or major reasons why this trial never happened, maybe because of Dateline NBC's leak, where Hitler stated, because Dateline NBC said multiple times, never seen before information leaked to us from the FBI, information that's never been shown or never been heard before. We're going to tell you now. And Hitler said, essentially, in my wording, who the fuck is talking to the press from the prosecution or law enforcement? Somebody has violated the gag order and has talked to Dateline NBC, and they're either with the prosecution or law enforcement. I want to know who it is, because they must be held accountable. This cannot happen in America. We will punish you. There will be potential civil or criminal punishments against the person who leaked this information, and anyone who attempts to try to hide who leaked that information to Dateline NBC, I'll hold them accountable if you make any attempts to hide it. That's how strong the language was. And now that Bryan Coburger has pled guilty, there's no talk about continuing the investigation into who leaked to the media. Is that going to just stop? Are we going to just forget that somebody needs to be held legally accountable? Somebody may need to go to jail. Somebody may need to be disbarred and have their license to practice law taken away because of their violating the gag order and completely unethical, trying to taint a jury before the trial begins. And is that the reason, in part, why Bryan Coburger accepted a plea deal? Because he had no chance of getting a fair trial because of something that was leaked to the media from a leaker who did it illegally. That person needs to be held accountable. That person possibly needs to go to jail. That person should stop practicing law, whether it's in law enforcement or in the law as a legal attorney. So someone needs to pay. But guess what? As Tony suggests, how much you want to bet, this is me guessing what they're saying, how much you want to bet we don't hear anything more about the leaker? They're just going to, even though Hitler said someone's ass needs to hang for this, I bet you we don't hear about the leaker again. There's a serial killer by my house in Austin, Texas. Holy shit. That's scary stuff. Maybe we should talk. Does it rise to the interest of the Devil's Advocates channel? Maybe we should talk. All right. I wonder if Bill Thompson retire now. Yes. I believe it was been stated multiple times this was Bill Thompson's last case. He was going to retire after this case. In fact, some have asked if that was the reason that Bill Thompson got emotional and kind of choked up at Brian Thompson's plea deal, because essentially that is Bill Thompson's last act in this case, right? That's his last major act. I've brokered the plea deal. I'm done. Prosecution rests, essentially. And maybe he was choked up less so because justice has been served for the families, and more so because this puts a bow on my entire career. I'm looking at comments to see if there's anything else before we hang up the hat today. About 7 minutes left. Howard Bloom said the state was going to subpoena BK's parents, and that's why he pled. I don't know when he said it. He didn't say that in the book, When the Night Comes Falling. I read that whole book for my viewers. By the way, on my channel, somebody asked before about where they can get boned up on things. I have a series that I read the entire book, Howard Bloom's When the Night Comes Falling. That wasn't in there. That may be, indeed, Howard Bloom goes on the news all the time. In fact, Howard Bloom was in the Dateline NBC special. That was part of that Who Fucking Leaked Things to the Media. Howard Bloom was all over that episode as well. So Howard Bloom, and I have speculated that. I have a video called Top 5 Reasons Why Bryan Coburger May have Accepted the Plea. One of them was that scenario right there. That possibly, one possible scenario is that Bryan Coburger admitted in some kind of form of fashion guilt to his family. His family knew that he was guilty, and they hid that, or they looked the other way, or whatever you want to call it, and someone put pressure on the family and says, not only is your son going to jail, but you're going to jail for accomplice to murder, unless you can convince your son to take the fucking plea deal, in which case we'll stop pursuing you. We won't bring you into the courtroom. We won't have you arrested. We won't make you perjure yourself on the stand and say what you knew, and we know you know. And was that part of the plea deal? That they put pressure on the family and basically said, if you don't convince your son to take a plea deal, you're going to jail as well. Or we'll make you get on the stand and perjure yourself and lie under oath. Does this mean Brian can do an interview now? I believe, yes, he could. I believe Brian Coburger could see somebody about writing a book. Generally speaking, inmates that are convicted of a crime like this cannot profit off their crime. So if you think Brian Koberger is going to live a cush life in jail because he's going to get kickbacks and residuals for millions of dollars, if he talks, it's going to have to be completely voluntarily on his own free will with no benefit to himself whatsoever. No benefit to himself whatsoever. But yes, most people, even serial killers, are allowed to talk to the media. They're allowed to pick who they want to talk to and share their story with. And you might think this is sick. You might think this is sick, but I've been writing to Brian Koberger for 2 months, trying to establish a relationship so that I can be a mouthpiece to try to understand why this happened to him, to us, to everyone, and get an inside take. Keep in mind, even the people who earn the trust of a killer, is it likely that a killer is going to tell that person the full truth, nothing but the truth, so help me God? Probably not. If they're willing to kill people, if that's what they did, if they're willing to kill people, they're going to lie to you as well to make themselves look as best as you can. Some people find that act of interviewing a serial killer to be a despicable thing. What kind of piece of shit person wants to make money off of a killer? It's not that. It's some of us want to understand the human psyche. What made a person go through that act? What were you thinking when you did it? We have got questions. Were you obsessed with Maddie Mogan, or were those women just random? If you did do it, did you literally just flip a coin and say, fuck it, I think 1122 King House looks good, I'm going to do that one, and had no idea who was in the house? Or did you know them? People want to know, regardless of whether he did it or not. Some of you might think that's sick and someone's just going to profit from money, but humans want to know why humans do the things that they do. We want to understand. Some of it because we want to be able to, like, was I ever at risk? Is there somebody out there who literally just flips a coin and decides if I'm going to live or die that day? Or did they do something like, well, shit, I wouldn't have died because I would have never done what they did. No wonder they fucking died. Like, we want to know. Inquiring minds want to know. All right. I think we're just about out. So I'm going to wrap up there. I want to thank everyone so much for coming in and finding me. I thought we were off to a really bad start when I realized I couldn't broadcast because I broke my YouTube channel. I think I've got that straightened out. I think for all intents and purposes, nobody should have to worry if you've already been subscribed to my account. I've been told all of my subscribers will stay intact. All of my algorithm will stay intact. Everything that you've done on my channel should stay intact. I was surprised what broke that did break, but it kind of makes sense to me because, again, behind the scenes, some numbers changed on my profile. You don't see it, but StreamYard sees it. So the program that I use to stream on the internet, StreamYard, they saw it and it's been changed. And now it's like, hey, you can't broadcast to this old address because it doesn't exist anymore. So hopefully you'll all get it sorted out. Hopefully that all makes sense. I hope that you guys will tune in tonight in a few hours, 4 hours, I guess, from now, right? When Pete Altieri and I go, 5 hours, I guess, roughly 5 hours from now, when Pete Altieri and I go live on Devil's Mayhem, a mashup of Devil's Advocates and Murder Metal Mayhem. We're going to talk about Rex Heuermann specifically, Victoria Heuermann specifically, Asa Ellerup specifically, all of it, the Long Island serial killer for the most part. We're going to talk about that. And we're going to kind of diverge into the 1980s era of murder porn, the era of Michael Myers, Jason, Freddy from Nightmare on Elm Street. We'll talk about that on the human psyche. Books like Stephen King and Dean Koontz, murder, stories that shaped the minds of many people in our age. Did that create some kind of normalization of murder? And did that factor into the story? All those kind of things we're going to talk about tonight. Ren from Austin, 76 from Austin, welcome. All right, everybody. That's it. I keep saying that's it. I really mean it this time. That's it. Thank you guys for coming. Thank you for supporting. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. If you're interested, $2.99. You can join the channel on YouTube as a member and get a crap ton of stuff that'll keep you busy for hours of member-only content that I put out there. In the meantime, you guys have a great day. I'll see you in a few hours on Pete Altieri's show. I'll also be streaming it on my channel, so you don't have to find him. You could just stay on this channel, find this channel, and watch that stream, which will be great for my algorithm. Okay, I did say I'm out. I really mean it. Bye-bye.